Hello, this is Matt on the Moon Lambeau channel. Ripple CTO and co-creator of the XRP Ledger, David Schwartz, just posted some brand new stuff for us here in the XRP community to take a gander at, and this was a really engaging one. I always appreciate hearing David Schwartz's insight on anything crypto related, and in this particular instance, he's citing why it's irrational to think that there will be, at this point in time or anytime soon, a one world currency, and goes on to cite exactly why XRP is specifically something that can be utilized here in the now, and why it makes all the sense in the world for adoption to continue. So for us XRP community members and XRP holders, this should be music to our ears. So there's lots to discuss in this video, but before we go any further, if you would please, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, ever so delicately tap the like button. I would definitely appreciate the support. And also, if you are a fan of gaining insight from David Schwartz at every opportunity available, go ahead and subscribe to the Moon Lambeau channel, because I will be talking about as much of this as is available. Just really anything from David Schwartz. This isn't an XRP-centric channel after all. I want to send a quick thank you to XRP Crypto Wolf for sending one of the crypto media stories on this my way, and I'm telling you, there were a bunch. Like, here's a headline from Crypto News Flash: Ripple CTO, there won't be one world fiat, but XRP might be the bridge currency. And here's one from you today: Ripple CTO says there won't be one world fiat currency anytime soon. And again, those are just a couple, and I'm sure that more are going to be written. And so where did this all stem from? Well, there's a tweet from XRP Darren, who tagged David Schwartz and wrote, the G20 has published a cross-border roadmap. A global stablecoin is coming. Is there room for a global, stable, central bank digital currency and XRP? There has been little details about GSC, which stands for Global Stablecoin. What are your thoughts about it? And there are a few tweets in between, but when David Schwartz jumped in, here's what he had to share right off the bat. I don't think there's going to be one world fiat anytime soon. So even with stable coins, there will be a lot of them. To make liquidity between central bank digital currencies, other stable coins, and new tokenized asset classes, such as securities and decentralized finance, there's room for a neutral, jurisdictionless asset. And then he mentioned this, which is what this is mostly what I'm going to cover in the video, and this is pure awesomeness. Like, if you were looking for some awesome sauce, you done found it, son. And here's what he tweeted out. I gave a talk at Berkeley today about a very similar subject, even though I'm not officially back working until tomorrow. I'm not sure if the recording is available publicly, but here are my notes. And he kindly shared this link to a website I wasn't really familiar with called Pastebin. And so here it is. And so he used the word today, stated that I gave the talk today, and that was yesterday. So pretty gosh darn new. Now, it's rare for me. I've only done this a handful of times where I've literally read an entire thing that was written by somebody else, like maybe twice, 2 or 3 times that I can recall anyway. And so I don't really want to do that typically, and I was going back and forth, like, do I make an exception because it's David Schwartz and it is genuinely that interesting? And so I kind of came across a happy medium. I'm going to cut out the intro piece and just get to the meat of it. And it's not so long that it's absurd for me to be covering this, and I'll be sharing thoughts along the way, of course, here. But I mean, I really mean what I say. Like, anytime there's a new video or something written by David Schwartz, it's just... It's always so engaging, and just hearing his perspective from such a logical and brilliant mind, I just thoroughly enjoy it. And I know I can't be the only one that feels that way, so I feel like I'm doing a disservice if I take away too much of this. And that's why I didn't want to just like run through articles and share, like, be too brief on this and just share an opinion here. But there's a lot to break down here. So again, I'll just cut out the intro piece here and just jump into what he had to say, because it goes into central bank digital currencies, interoperability, and the task at hand effectively, and ultimately XRP and the XRP ledger here. So let's jump into this part right here. No, actually, I'm sorry, I wanted to go a little bit lower, because I feel like the concept of central bank digital currencies, you're going to get enough from his piece later on, so I am cutting that piece out too. Just for the sake of time, I don't want this video to go on too terribly long, but there will be central bank digital currency discussion later on, don't worry. So let's just start with interoperability here. So just cutting out the first portions of this. It's important that these payment systems are also built on newer technologies that are compatible with each other. At a minimum, they won't be able to confer the benefits of improved international settlement to the payment's originator and recipient if they aren't modernized. At worst, those payments won't work at all. Even if you imagine some future with one world asset, we won't get there unless the new one world asset is compatible with where the value is today. So either way, compatibility is key. The world's value is spread out today among systems that don't interoperate with a massive number of bespoke and quirky interconnections. Band-aids. Companies that handle large numbers of payment endpoints need hundreds of people to maintain their payments infrastructure and handle the complex treasury operations needed to handle funds in dozens of payment systems. If someone wants to compete with companies that have this kind of payments infrastructure, the answer can't be that they hire 100 payment engineers and dozen treasury operations people. That's a non-starter. So there's definitely an opportunity here to bridge domestic real-time payment systems, such as FedNow, the clearinghouse, and the clearinghouse for USD, United States dollar, with powerful benefits for SMEs, so small medium enterprises, and ultimately consumers around the world. And you know, in just a moment you're going to see when he gets to the usage of basically a cryptocurrency that's effectively just permissionless and not controlled by anybody. Additional use cases that you might not have thought about, which could absolutely apply to XRP. But what about the task at hand? And he writes as follows. We need to build systems with common principles, just as the internet was built. Today, many computer networks are efficiently just part of the internet, but it wasn't always this way. As many of you know, Cisco rose to dominance against competitors because they could make existing legacy systems connect to the internet, while competitors required you to build new internet-like networks. Today, most networks look like the internet, but we needed interoperability to get there. Yeah, exactly. And then you still have some places around the world, North Korea, that have the intranet, by the way, and make sure that it doesn't connect to anything outside of their geographic region. And that is more so what the world used to look like decades ago. Like, I'm not going to talk about this video, but I've shared my story in the past about how my father purchased Prodigy Classic, a subscription for us, while my friends had AOL. So we were stuck in different walled gardens, and I couldn't connect with all of my friends. All of my other friends had the cool platform. They had AOL, America Online. I had Prodigy Classic. Oh, good times here. But anyway, he continues, and payments and settlement are definitely in that pre-internet state. There's still that huge mismatch today. It's walled garden after walled garden with very limited interoperability through a massive number of different specific, limited interconnections. Liquidity is spread out and enterprises need to keep money spread across these systems. The result is high cost due to trapped funds and the need to pre-fund transactions, often days in advance. So, two problems we need to be mindful of. A. Stablecoins are always going to be tied to a single fiat currency. There probably is not going to be one winner at the end of the day, and there definitely won't be a single stablecoin, or a single fiat currency for that matter, that everyone uses anytime soon. And B. The United States dollar has been the world's reserve currency since the Bretton Woods Agreement in 1944, but as we've seen, particularly this year, that status is weakening. And this is all stuff that I've been talking about on the channel here. As far as the stable coins, my gosh, the people that think that a stable coin or a central bank digital currency or a bank coin could do what a jurisdictionless, permissionless cryptocurrency like XRP can do as a bridge currency, my gosh, you have not finished thinking through all of the problems that are associated with that concept right here. And then you've got the United States dollar absolutely weakening, and clearly businesses and people around the world are most certainly looking for where they can invest in scarce, provably scarce assets that actually solve real-world problems. To me, this is unquestionably true. And then he has this section, reserve currencies and jurisdictions. I don't think the USD being fully replaced as the world's reserve currency is likely in the near term or even over the next few decades. But its position is becoming more precarious because of several reasons. Pandemic uncertainty forcing consumers and institutions to look at other safe haven asset classes like crypto, and the rise of other countries, particularly China, that are trying to dethrone the USD. Does this sound like anything that I've been talking about for like the entirety of the lifespan of this channel? Absolutely. And I haven't really heard David Schwartz talk about any of this in depth here, but I am firmly on board with the concerns that he's sharing here as being real things. And I don't think the USD, if I had to guess, is going to go away anytime soon. But I also know the lessons that history has taught us about what happens when a central government debases their own currency. It doesn't work. You have runaway inflation ultimately, and it collapses. And so we've seen this movie before, but this is still what's happening. Again, I don't think it's going to happen necessarily anytime soon. Maybe I'm wrong, but I guess I'd be surprised. It is the global reserve after all. And then I've been pointing out ever since this terrible dumpster fire of a year has resulted in us all being quarantined, obviously, that it's changed the way that people have been looking at safe haven asset classes, and it's been bringing people into crypto unquestionably. And one of my most favorite, most notable instances of this being true would be MicroStrategy, publicly traded company, dumping almost $500 million specifically into Bitcoin. Without all this happening, I'm not so sure. I mean, maybe they technically started looking into this like a hair before the whole pandemic started, but that was a factor. Like Michael Saylor, the CEO of MicroStrategy, has talked about the fact that they had all this in the balance sheet and how it affected their company, this and that. I've seen enough interviews from them. It was certainly a factor, even though I think they started looking into it a hair before that, but it's a factor nonetheless. Anyway, but David continues now. Being tied to USD alone brings jurisdictional ties as well as that are, let's be realistic, increasingly unwanted in many parts of the world. Today, many sovereign countries around the world want independence from a system that gives jurisdictions like the US and the EU extraterritorial control over systems in those sovereign countries and their regions. Saudi Arabia, for example, wants a payment system in the Middle East that respects their sovereignty. If each country issues their own central bank digital currency or starts using stablecoins denominated in different regional currencies, we risk repeating this mistake yet again. We drastically need interoperability between these virtual currencies and between virtual currencies and traditional assets and systems. A central bank digital currency, by definition, will carry the same capital controls, trade agreements, politics, etc., just as its corresponding fiat currency did. Again, countries are not going to want to deal with another country's capital controls. And I tweeted about this, and before I even knew that this existed, this little piece that he ended up putting on Pasteman here, I tweeted about it because this was already being discussed within the XRP community, and I tweeted something out. It was straight to that effect. If this video doesn't go too long, maybe I'll share it with you. I do have the tab pulled up, but that's effectively what I wrote. I conveyed the exact same message. It's because basically, frankly, central bank digital currencies, it is a fiat currency. It just moves in a different fashion, and there are some other little perks for the country that controls it, especially in terms of tracking, right? Okay. Potentially, it depends the way it's coded, but it absolutely can be the case, and could be easier to collect taxes. There are some other little things, but it's effectively still just a fiat currency. Anyway, David writes, a world currency issued by a world jurisdiction that everybody uses for everything is a pipe dream. Our choices seem to be an interoperable future with a few jurisdictionless settlement assets or balkanization. Exactly. All of this weird stuff, and people like to have these silly, crazy conspiracy theories. Oh, the one world order, this blah, 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 Illuminati crap. No, I've never bought into that silly. To me, it's hogwash. No offense if you buy that stuff, but there's no evidence that, first of all, any of that's happening. And second of all, clearly that is not how humans operate. And you're going to see that play out in real time because there will not be, if I had to guess, there's never going to be a one world currency, and if it ever happened, it'd be past my lifetime, man. This is not how humans operate, and there would have to. I don't even know what it would look like to get to that point. But there are different interests from different people in different geographic regions in mind, and given the way everything's separated, in October of 2020, again, don't see it changing anytime soon. So what about the need for a neutral asset? And now it gets really super interesting to me. If you're looking at cross-border, the key factor is interoperability. You're working across jurisdictions and across assets. You need a neutral asset in between different CBDCs, or your liquidity will be divided among, well, a whole bunch of other stuff, frankly. Pairs of central bank digital currencies. Similarly, if other assets, such as securities around the world, get tokenized, listen up here, there's even more need for a neutral asset between multiple central bank digital currencies and possibly a larger number of new assets in new asset classes. And look, everything's getting tokenized these days. Like I've joked like they're tokenizing everything. Think about it. I'm sure stocks will be. We're seeing it happen with real estate. They're probably going to do it with. I've joked about this. Obviously, isn't happening. My pet peeve, which is my 5-year-old terrier, I'm probably going to tokenize her. There'll be a little my pet peeve token. No, like that part I don't mean. But I'm just saying. Actually, that's not too much of a stretch. Just things enter my brain sometimes. But actually, for a competitive, it might have been like competitive horse racing or something like that. Horses can be so expensive that actually there was an article I just popped in my head. I talked about it a long time ago, whenever it was in the news. But people are talking about legitimately tokenizing horses. Like, I'm not kidding you. So I was like, oh my gosh, I go to joke about tokenizing my pet peeve. And here you go. People want to tokenize living creatures. Okay, whatever. If it's solving a problem, I guess, and it's not going to harm the animals, then super duper, I suppose. But anyway, you're still going to need a bridge is the point. So if you haven't thought about it further, it's not just necessarily about the various fiat currencies that need to be bridged. It could be all sorts of other things that need to be bridged. They won't just by nature interoperate here. And so David writes as follows: a central bank is not going to issue a digital asset that behaves like Bitcoin, XRP, ETH. These are neutral assets that should remain free from single jurisdiction control. Ding, ding, ding. This is of crucial importance. Check this out. He continues. Central bank digital currencies are not going to usurp the role of universal settlement assets. You need a neutral asset going in between central bank digital currencies, serving as a settlement asset across jurisdictions, accepted by all because everyone accepts that they can't get the whole world to use an asset they control. And so an asset nobody can control is better than one controlled by one of their geopolitical competitors. Could this not be more obvious? He's nailing on the head here. My gosh. That's why some people think, oh my god, this or that central bank digital currency gonna take over the world. XRP no longer needed. I'm like, oh my god. You need to think through it a little further before forming such a strong, ill-informed opinion, frankly. But he continues, Bitcoin is sometimes pitched as the interoperability solution, and in the early days that almost seemed believable. But as we now have some 1,500 cryptocurrencies that don't interoperate, and almost nothing non-crypto interoperates with Bitcoin, we have recreated a newer version of the same walled garden problem. Instead of building an internet based on compatibility, we built one network and required everyone to join that network, requiring too many sacrifices too quickly. Again, hitting the nail on the head. The only thing I would critique there is he wrote 1,500 cryptocurrencies. Well, last I saw anyway, and I'm not sure where he got that number. Last I saw it was over 7,000 actually. 7 freaking thousand. I can't remember if that's how many are listed on CoinMarketCap. You can go check. It's certainly more than 1,500 at this point, so I don't know exactly where he got that number, but suffice it to say, a ton of them. And so absolutely the same friction that existed in the world in terms of interoperability of assets and currencies, it just recreated in a new way today. But then you get to XRP and the XRP Ledger. I love this. It can't just be one network. And if there's one network at the hub, that network has to be built for that role, with interoperability taking priority over everyone do things our way. It has to be based on bridges, not on walls. XRP and the XRP Ledger were built specifically for this kind of role. The XRP Ledger was purpose-built for transacting both in a native neutral asset, XRP, and also in issued assets, to bridge to central bank digital currencies, stablecoins, other payment networks, and other kinds of assets. XRP Ledger has asset issuance built into the protocol. Issuance, authorization, payment, settlement, and exchange are all native operations with simple APIs. Issued assets can represent fiat currency securities or anything else of fungible value that works like a currency. The XRP Ledger can't handle all the world's payments, and I'm not proposing a one network solution. That's totally unrealistic. And by the way, so all of you fringe people out there that think it's one coin XRP to rule them, like, I don't like maximalism from any side, not the XRP community or anywhere, but for all of you think that XRP is going to be the godsend for every problem that there is in terms of moving money around the planet, holy hell, first of all, that's absurd. There's no evidence to think that it's reasonably realistic, and even David Schwartz, who is co-creator of the XRP Ledger, says that's totally unrealistic. That's a quote. That's totally unrealistic. So I'd rather than hype stuff up because there's already enough awesomeness happening, we don't need hype. Just living in reality is more than exciting enough, frankly. And David Schwartz continues. People want different things and have different problems, but XRP can be the hub or backbone that provides the fast international settlement piece. It won't solve the last mile problem, but will help with interoperability and concentrating liquidity so enterprises don't have to keep funds in every payment system. How about that? That is amazing enough in and of itself, says Moon Lambo anyway. And so here's what I shared. I'm going to share this and then I'll wrap up the video because this is going on longer than most of my videos anyway, and I try to be conscious of that because I think some people prefer longer videos, and what I've gathered from the comment section, it just feels to me that most people prefer shorter videos than what I was previously putting out like a little over a year ago. Because I'd normally put out like 30 to 40 minute videos. That was not uncommon for me. But anyway, so here we go. There's a tweet from XRP community member named Arturo Portilla wrote, this IMF paper dated October 19th, 2020 suggests that central bank digital currencies and so-called global stablecoins can be used in the exact same way XRP is used today in the context of on-demand liquidity. And so I've seen this argument before. I know that it's, I say this respectfully, it's not a good argument. It's not a strong argument. I'm well aware of this for so many reasons. I can't articulate those reasons. I'm perfectly capable of that. And so I wrote the following. Of course, there are a litany of problems with this. Who's going to hold central bank digital currencies in Nostro accounts? Who's going to build out the messaging software to support global flows? What company will offer customer support and what is their revenue model? What about sufficient liquidity? And I ran out of space there, so then I retweeted it and wrote the following. And let's not forget counterparty risk. No, central bank digital currencies will not be a global settlement solution. It's like people don't seem to realize that a central bank digital currency is still just a fiat currency with the same shortcomings that exist today. It just uses new tech to move. That's it. And in a nutshell, that is it. There are other little perks for like the government, like I cited earlier, like in terms of like collecting taxes, this and that, outside the scope of this video, but there you go. And so Arturo Portilla responded to my comment there, which is a bit of a critique, certainly, admittedly. Friendly critique, but critique nonetheless. And he wrote, most of these questions are irrelevant in the context of central bank digital currencies, easily answerable in the context of global stablecoins, and I disagreed with that firmly as well, and so I shared additional thoughts. I wrote, I think the governments of the world have shown they can't harmoniously govern anything efficiently, much less a global stablecoin. And if you think the United States will put their financial sovereignty at risk anytime soon over such a thing, I would take issue with the concept. But if a functional and reliable global stablecoin ever exists, it's light years behind XRP being used as a bridge currency. Once such a standard is in place, good luck supplanting it. Schwartz makes sense when he says there's utility in a jurisdictionless and permissionless digital asset. And so I'll wrap it up there, but thank you for hanging through with me to the end. Would love to hear what you think about all of this stuff. I am not a financial advisor. Do not buy or sell anything because of anything that I say or write. That would be a very, very, very bad idea. Until next time, to the moon, Lambo.